If you were standing right here 20 years ago, this was a 4-lane highway snugged up against the building here, where Spill the Beans is today, and traffic just flying across here. The buildings across the street were mainly vacant, boarded up. A lot of them were used for storage. It was the third rail of Greenville politics. People talked about it, but nobody dared touch the issue because there was such blowback. So there were many false starts along the way. And I think the fundamental problem, though, wasn't in the community leadership and a desire to do something. It was that most people in Greenville who had lived here all their lives had honestly never seen the waterfall. So if you hadn't seen it, really seen it, it was hard to get excited about spending $18 million to remove a perfectly good bridge to create this garden around the waterfall that the Carolina Foothills Garden Club had as a vision. I've heard many people say during the debate, well, if you take away the bridge, it will be embarrassing for the city. And I'd say, well, how's that? Because there's just a trickle, and that was the word they used. That word came up again, a trickle of water over the falls. And I remember telling one person, well, have you been down there to see it? Yeah, to see the waterfall, you had to park your car where River Place is today, perhaps make your way through a lot of kudzu, zig and zag. You had to really make an effort to come down here to see the waterfall. And when you did, you saw the big highway above you and the noise of the traffic. You probably looked around and thought, this is not a very safe place to be or a comfortable place to be, even when you're there.
Is it crazy to think that if somebody moved to Greenville in 2005, that they would not have known a Greenville without this?
It totally transformed Greenville. It made the falls became the centerpiece of downtown. But more than that, it became our very identity, the falls and the river, our identity as a city, something we really didn't have before. We didn't know we didn't have it, but we really didn't have anything like that. What is Greenville? Greenville is that.
I'm not trying to be too zen-like, but I'd like us all to be real quiet for just a minute and listen to something. Welcome back to Reedy River Falls.
Most people who crossed the bridge that day, by the hundreds, most of them had never seen the waterfall. You can guarantee that. So the reaction on people's faces was just indescribable. The controversy and concern about taking away the perfectly good bridge, that evaporated, disappeared the day the park opened. But frankly, only when the park opened. But it transformed the west end of Greenville, which we've been struggling for years to try to bring something to the west end of Greenville, the south end of Main Street. A lot of false starts, but this just blew the roof off of it. And I would say after 2004, that's when people began to really notice Greenville nationwide, worldwide. People come here, articles are written, we're on top 10 list, we have tourists, and who knows how many companies and talented people moved here because of what Falls Park did for downtown Greenville as well.
It's a very special occasion. And it's special for a lot of reasons, but mainly because for 40 years, we could not hear that sound. For 40 years, as a bridge stood here, it stifled the development of the west end of Greenville, all of this area of downtown. It kept this beautiful park area from ever reaching its full potential. And the results are all around. It's once again going to be a place that's a catalyst for economic development, with the tremendous development in River Place and all around this area. It's going to mean a lot for Greenville economically. But the most important thing about it, it's going to be once again what it was back then, a wonderful gathering place for people from all walks of life. It's sort of Greenville's big backyard, if you will, where we can all come together as a community, and that perhaps is the most important thing about what we're talking about today. But we took a gigantic step. We took down an old bridge, and in many respects, we raised up a new city.
This was the catalyst for the baseball stadium. Any idea of any possibility of moving it to downtown, the west end, wouldn't have happened without Falls Park first, and then certainly along the river, Unity Park, and then the Swamp Rabbit Trail. That's another thing. I don't think the Swamp River Trail would have actually happened but for Falls Park. and the first leg of the trail that went from Falls Park to the city-county line, which showed people it's possible to do this. We can do this, and it all comes together. This was catalytic for so many other great things in Greenville.
Because we're all about now some things that are really dramatic and different. We're marching down the river, not just across the street in River Place, but all down the river. And I think it's important for all of us in the city to understand just where this aspiration needs to lead.